Record the cloud. Perfect. Okay, so as long as you can hear me okay, Becca, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, definitely. Can you hear me? My dishwasher is running, so it's very
That's
loud. I
okay.
can move. Okay, good.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be able to speak with you. I know it's been, I know you mentioned that you worked this weekend, and I'm sorry it didn't work
Yeah.
out yesterday, and I just saw your message too. I didn't even know that you messaged me last night, so I'm finally
Oh,
excited to be able to
okay.
speak with you.
Me too. I'm so excited to do this. It's been so long.
I know, and hold on, I think it was a little lagging, but we're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
go with it.
Okay, cool. Is it working now?
Yeah, it's working. Yeah, that should be fine. So yeah, so I reached out to you for this podcast. So the point of the podcast is kind of like go with the flow, and we're just gonna go with the flow with the conversation, and we learn more about your business, and I know we met last year. I think when the pandemic happened, and I think
Yeah.
at that time that was like the beginning of like the change, and there was like, and then you made a story about like, oh, does anyone want to like collab, and like we'll do a Zoom call so we can like have that connection again. And I that was the first time we met. And Becca is a wedding photographer who's from Boston, and now you're residing in Portland, right?
Yes, super fun here. The move was a lot during a pandemic, but it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, we met during that call, and it was so nice because I actually met so many. I think there was four of us on it, or maybe five.
Mhm.
But like every single person on that call was so nice, and I've kept a relationship with ever since. And it was just like one of those random things that you think is a good idea in the time, and you have no idea if it actually is or not. But it worked out so well. It's so nice to like meet other people doing the same stuff as us.
I know. It felt like it was just yesterday, and now here we
Right?
are, the 2021, and
Like a
finally.
year later.
And I know me and Becca met up in Block Island the first time, and I was super excited to meet you and Jess. And the first time I saw you, I was like, hey, oh, you're taller than I thought. Like you were tallest first, and you mentioned not a bad way. I didn't want to offend you, but like in
No, not at all. That's what literally everybody says to me when they meet me. I don't know if I'm just like not doing myself justice when I show pictures of myself, but I am fairly tall. Like I did play basketball my whole life. I've got that.
Oh, I'm so jealous of you because I've always wanted to play basketball in high
Oh,
school. So I'm glad. Yeah, so we met up at Block Island. It was a great time in the Black. It was one of the best moments of last year. And yeah, I'd love
definitely.
to talk more about, like your business. And I've been following you for a while now, and it all started when, like it's probably like a year or almost a year and a half, and then I checked out your work back then. And the first impression I saw in your work, I was like, oh my God, this is like a professional photographer. It was like probably like the first time I saw a professional photographer, and I was like, oh my God.
Crazy to me.
In Instagram, like so what I saw on your Instagram, and like my impression was like, you have photos of yourself, and you really like preach this. You want to show your personality and your face in your work and Instagram. And I saw that, your work, the smile that you put, like you have like the smile. And I feel like what I've noticed in your work is that the couples have a resemblance of your personality. I don't know if that makes sense,
That's
but
the
like
nicest thing ever. I love that. I've never thought about that before, but I love that. That's so sweet.
yeah. And I like to, I really got, I followed you for a while, and you made a YouTube video as well because you wanted to teach, photographers for free. And, that was
Yeah.
really nice because like, I know it was very important for me as well, because I was just starting out, and it did give me that encouragement. But yeah, I'd love to hear more about like, your story, and like, how long have you been photographing for? I know you started here in Boston, right?
Yeah, so I've been doing this business for 3 years because I started right when I graduated college, just in too much time. And then I'm like the classic photographer who's been like taking pictures all their lives. Like everybody says that. But it really kind of started picking up for me after I had a head injury as like a way to remember things. So that kind of just phased on from that. I don't
I know
know.
you did mention that like a head injury in your website. I don't know if that was still in your website, but like
Yeah. I know it just feels like a sappy story when I like spell it all out because that's really not how it felt in the time, and I feel like it's kind of cheesy, so I like shy away from telling people about it. But I did have a head injury in high school, and I was out of school for like 2 years. And I had a lot of memory problems, so I would like really go through photos to try to remember like different times that I had with friends or like different people in my life or like people in my life's names and stuff like that. But I was always so frustrated because I was such a bad photographer that nothing could actually like capture the memory I was trying to remember, which was frustrating as heck. And then I didn't think too much about it when I got better and I went through college and didn't get a degree in like photography or anything like that. But it had always been like a side passion, but something I kept really special to me and something I didn't really talk about much. And then I eventually gained the confidence to kind of go for it and try to capture those memories for other people so that when they want to look back at a moment like 5 years, 10 years from now, they can actually like feel what they felt in that moment. That was kind of like the driving force. So I feel like it kind of came naturally to go for weddings because it's such like a highly emotional day, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
So
kind of how I got here, but there was a lot of left turns and right turns getting there, and it like works together now and it makes sense, but at the time it did not make sense.
okay, and so you went to college in Boston. I don't know. I was making
Yeah,
that. And then
yeah.
you pretty much after you graduated, you went to photography, and you just kept it since then.
Mhm. That's it. Yeah, that's exactly right. I went to BU and then I studied psych and public health. And then when I was graduating, I'm like, I'm just gonna try it. Like, I'm the type of person that I would get in a job and I would hate it, but I would not quit for like 10 years just because I like am too loyal. And I'm like, I will never leave these people. So I'm like, I need to like try it now, or else I'm never gonna try it.
And
So I
I
tried.
know.
It worked.
Wait, say that again.
I said I tried it and I guess it worked, which is nice. So we're still here.
That that's good. Yeah, I'm glad it's working out. And I know that you recently moved to Boston to Oregon in Portland, and you know, I last time I talked to you was in Block Island, and you did mention, you that was like before you were gonna move, you were gonna meet, you wanted to move just because part of the reason was to meet your brother again. I
Yeah.
hope he didn't move, by the way, and then
That's so funny because he did move. He's in Rhode Island.
oh no,
I
that's so
know.
fun.
We traded places.
Okay, and I know you're doing last time I talked to you as well, so you're transitioning your clients from Boston to Oregon. How last time I talked to you was that you didn't have enough, you didn't have any clients.
Yeah.
I know, and then now
That's
how is
so
it
cool.
looking like?
It's looking a lot better, thankfully, because it was really touch and go there for a while. And a lot of my, or like 90% of my bookings in Boston, they ended up being referrals after I like was able to establish myself, like referrals from other vendors or like past clients or whatever. And so not having anybody in Oregon that I knew was a little bit scary because I had to like completely start from scratch. But it's ended up being fine. And I'm getting a lot of
Mhm.
really, really sweet inquiries, which I'm excited about. So we're looking better at this point. But people here like book a lot later than they do
Mhm.
on the East Coast. I've noticed like people are starting to just inquire now for 2021, where people in Boston, I'm normally booked out like a year and a half in advance.
Mhm.
So
And I know for a lot of photographers who are considering to moving, like what you did was, I know you went there prior to moving to, Oregon, and then got some content
yeah,
shot. What would you tell, like, for someone, like any photographer that may want to move some to a different state? What would you have them recommend to be able to book those clients?
yeah, I would definitely recommend going there, finding people to photograph. Like I found other photographer couples, other videographer couples, just random couples through like hashtags and stuff like that. Because that's making a connection for me. Like if I'm photographing a photographer couple and they like my work, then maybe they'll refer me clients later down the line. Plus they get free pictures, which they'll like. Plus I'll have
Mhm.
like stuff that I can post and show that I'm in this area. So when I like hashtag that area, it'll actually be that I'm actually there, which makes more sense. And then like they can refer me to their friends. And if they're not photographers, they can do the same thing, which is really nice. So I went for like a week-long trip here to Oregon before I moved, and I think I scheduled like 12 photo shoots. Like it was the most exhausting week I think I have ever experienced. But I was like, I have to get enough content for like 4 months worth before I actually move here. to try and show like I am in Oregon, because weddings do book out so early in advance. I wanted to make sure that I was marketing myself in Oregon well before we actually moved, so that I could start like positioning myself to be in that market. So I would definitely recommend, like, as soon as you know you're going to move, go and get content that works with that place. And if you can't go there in advance, then at least like try to find places near you that kind of mirror that. Like I would still go on a hike in like near
Mhm.
Boston and pretend it was like a cool Oregon hike, which maybe is a bad thing to do. But anywhere you can get that like style of content that works for that new place, I think is so helpful.
And I know, and the photos are beautiful. Like you really show like Oregon now. Like it seems like when I go to your profile, it's like it seems like you're just from like you've been doing weddings at Oregon. So good job to that.
Thank you. I feel like when you move to a place, you like appreciate it so much more. So I'm just in awe over like all the beauty that's here. And I just like am nonstop taking pictures of it. And it's a lot of fun. And doing things that some people like haven't done who have lived here their whole lives, just because they like, it's on the list and eventually they'll get to it. But for me, it's like, I'm coming here. Oh my God, I want to do all these things. And it feels like vacation. So I just try to pack everything into one, which I
And
guess is good or bad.
I know I've been seeing that you've been hiking throughout the beauties of like Oregon. It looks so beautiful there, and I could imagine like the weddings how it's looking there. But I know you're leaning towards elopement weddings. Like, is that like a thing there in Oregon? Is that like a common thing in Oregon for weddings?
Yeah, I think it's really big here in the Pacific Northwest. I think I've gotten a lot of inquiries from people who are traveling from like the East Coast or the South or literally anywhere else in the country that want to elope here just because it's so beautiful and they're adventurous and they want to hike and like make a trip out of it, which is really cool. And I really like photographing like a more intimate setting for elopements and stuff like that. And that really seems like the market here, which is nice that it
Mhm.
kind of worked out that way. I'm
And
still
I
shooting.
could
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You're shooting with what?
I was gonna say I'm still gonna shoot like a few like larger weddings, but it's also nice to be like in the elopement scene during the pandemic because obviously they're not impacted as much. They don't need to like limit their guest count because they wanted like 100 people, now it has to be 50, so it's a little bit safer of a bet right now too.
Mhm. And I know like what you mentioned, like the what like elopements is a thing there in Oregon. Like, do you have a hard time like getting couples? I could imagine there's a lot of wedding photographers that are or elopement photographers there. Like, I feel like it's like competition. Like, is that like a thing that you seen there?
Yeah, I feel like in the whole wedding photography industry, that's something I was really worried about towards the beginning was like, oh my God, there's a million wedding photographers. Like if you look on Instagram and search like even Boston wedding photographer, you'll find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people.
Mhm.
So it was intimidating at first because there's so many really talented people here. But I think that everybody has something else to offer. Like
Mhm.
there's a reason that people pick me and they wouldn't pick somebody else. And there's a reason people wouldn't pick me, and that's totally fine too. But I think I like relate to a specific style of people. I think it's really important to like niche down and brand yourself so that you repel the wrong people and attract the right people, which hopefully I've been able to do a little bit. But I also like, I really think that the people out here are like super, super talented, and I like challenging myself and I like pushing myself to be better. So I think that like being surrounded by talented photographers is only a good thing because you can look at what everybody else is doing and then form a relationship with them and learn from them and grow.
I know, and I know you've been there for only a few months in Oregon. Has what like my question to you is like how has that been like changing your perspective or like doing something different to your brand or like your business from moving there? Is there anything that you did differently from moving? I'm curious about that.
I think a lot of what I did like right now is the stuff that I did at the very beginning of my business, and it's just kind of been like starting over and seeing if it works and then kind of modifying it. And I feel like moving and restarting is kind of like a ego check because you're like, oh, I
Mhm.
was so good in Boston and people like knew who I was and whatever, and now no one knows me, which is like I kind of like it's kind of cool just to be able to like grind it out and start from the beginning, but it definitely changes your perspective. And it's like you have to adapt to all the new ways to market yourself and like show up on people's feeds and do all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So it's been definitely like a learning and growing experience. Plus, being out here has just made me like really appreciate the nature more. So I've like really
Mhm.
seen my style change. Plus, I'm always like changing and growing as a person. I want my business to reflect that. So I think it's changed a little.
I could imagine, like you've been doing photographing weddings here in Boston, and moving there. Like you were well known here in Boston, I could imagine, and then now moving to a place where Oregon, like having to hustle again. I couldn't imagine how that would feel like, but like it seems like you're really like enjoying the process. Kind of just being in the moment
Yeah,
and not worrying
definitely.
about it.
Yeah, it is like definitely harder to get clients when you're so unknown, but I think that there's such an opportunity for like growth and redefining yourself, which I really like because I feel like I've changed a lot since I've moved from Boston, just like these short 3 months or whatever I've lived here. So it's nice that people don't know me here and I can like really restart my brand and do it exactly how I want to do it, which is going to be different than how it was in Boston. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like a nice personal journey as well.
That's good, and I really can't wait to see like the change of like environment, like like doing
Yeah.
weddings there. I want to see like that journey transitioning from Boston to Oregon photographer, and like I'm really just excited for you, and you both moving there.
Thank
And
you.
I'm so sorry for your brother having to move. I know you didn't
I
you really
know.
wish that.
I know. That's okay. My dad lives here, so it's been really, really nice to spend time with him and be on the same coast. And our
Hmm.
dogs all get along super well, so we've all been pretty happy.
Oh, that's great. I
I
don't. So that must be a big family then, having the dogs and your dad's dogs.
Yeah, oh my gosh, my 2 dogs, my dad has 2 dogs, so when they're all together, it's just like an absolute madhouse. We're outnumbered, it's not safe. They
Oh,
just
that's
go
funny.
crazy together.
You probably just copied your dad, huh? You wanted two dogs because your dad
Yeah,
got.
I was like, "That looks way fun."
Yeah. So another thing that I've seen in your Instagram, I've been following you a while again. So your
Yeah,
Instagram, you really, with everything going on, this craziness, last year going on. What I what's different about your brand as well is that with the craziness going on from last year, so in your profile stuck out to me just because it's very unique, just because you really see like you are compassionate about the Black Lives Matter. I want to
yeah,
talk more about that just because you really you really, that's really stuck out to you, and like you really put that on your brand. I'd love to hear more about
yeah,
that because I don't see a lot of photographer that is really putting that stuff out there. Yeah, but like
yeah.
I'd love to hear that story.
Definitely. I think that like my brand is really central to who I am. So if there's something that I really strongly believe in, then like I'm going to say it for better, for worse. I don't like if people don't agree with me, that's totally fine. But then I'm not the right photographer for them. I'm not the right person they should be following. I'm not like probably don't want it. They probably don't want to be friends with me, and that's okay too. But in this instance, I just feel like it was so important to have all social media focused on Black Lives Matter because that's what really propelled it. That's what made people talk about it. That's what drove the progress that was happening. And for me, that was really important. And I think that like when you have a business to run, it's obviously hard to like stop your marketing and stuff like that and like, be
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm going to completely focus on something else. But in my opinion, like my business could have withheld me not posting like regular wedding content for a few months, but the movement wouldn't have been able to withstand that if everybody had had that same thought. So it was really important to me to keep up the momentum as much as I could and participate as much as I could and show that because I know a lot of people also like didn't know the right way to participate and I don't know if I was participating the right way either, but I was just an option so people could see like what white people could do in the movement, like go to protest and share things and learn about things and talk to people in their families about things. So hopefully it was like a good resource for people to use, but it just wasn't something that I ever had to think about whether I was going to share or not share because it was like that's all I cared about, and
Mhm.
still care about. I just want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about weddings. I don't want to talk about like marketing. It just seems so pointless at that point. Like, why would I be talking about something that's so unrelated to like the world that's going around? And I also think that like if I'm a wedding photographer and I harp on how much that I love, and I love my couples and stuff like that, then I need to go as hard for my Black couples to have the same opportunities to live their lives and love each other as my white couples. And right now, there's such a disconnect between, or not a disconnect, but like there's such a gap between those two lives and the privilege there that like for me that's really central to my work, is being able to actually care about my couples, and I need to actually show that I care about my Black couples just as much as my white couples and help bridge that gap, I think.
Yeah, and I like that because like, you really like you don't see a lot of people doing that. Like, you really just kept the momentum and it's just such a very important, you know, topic to have, like especially I've been, honestly like last year has been just like a lot of craziness and like just like I've been to one to the rally. I was I participated into some of the rallies here locally, and it was just such a big event. But like it seems like you like like you still put stuff content out there because it's very important. But I
Yeah.
like what I like about you is that like you still like really really like want to put that out there, just because like you don't
Yeah.
see that consistency from other vendors, putting that, message out there. I don't know if I'm making sense, but like I
No,
hope I
you make
am.
total sense because I've noticed that too, and it's been like something I've been really frustrated with in this industry and noticed a lot of problems with in this industry, because I think a lot of people were talking about it because it was trending. And just in general, I think a lot of people talked about it because it was trending. And the second it wasn't a thing to talk about anymore, they stopped talking about it, which to me showed like you don't care that much because nothing has changed. I mean, we're just seeing trials for the murders, sorry, that we're protesting happening now. So it's like, we have to keep going. We haven't done anything yet. I don't want to just post for a week and then have it not solve any problems. Like I want to keep going and going as much as possible until things actually get done and change, because I don't want to just say that I want change and then not do anything about it. That's A, not how I function, and B, not how I think the world works. So I think it's really important to keep up that consistency and keep showing support until things actually change. And I think that finding like sustainable ways to help is really important, because not everybody can be like on the front lines full time. I'm lucky because I'm a wedding photographer and weddings were not happening for a large part of the summer. So I could dedicate a lot of my time to it. But now that things are starting to pick up, then it looks like a little bit different. And I think it's important for everybody to find like one area of expertise that they have that they can really contribute to the movement and then go off of that. It doesn't matter if you like share it all the time or anything like that, if social media is not your thing, but just like finding something that you're good at that you can actually contribute, I think is really important.
That's great. Like, like that's it was been like with everything going on last year, it's I feel like, it's just it went so quick, from last year.
Yes.
But yeah,
Oh
I
gosh.
felt like, I felt like that's really like important to be, consistent with like, I mean, I felt like, everything going like I know Oregon was also part of the, was like I don't even know how to explain this, but like it was
Yeah,
like, a big
it was
thing
like a
about like the
yeah,
protesting there, right?
yeah.
Like I've been so how I'm not sure if you're like involved in there. I don't know if you're in the right, city, but like is there so like how is that looking there in Oregon?
I think Oregon definitely has like is at the forefront of the fight, which I personally love. And I love that like the people around me care so much to continue the fight. And I think that's awesome. And I know people are like kind of scared of Portland because it looks so like unruly and blah blah blah. But Portland's one of the only cities like continuing to fight and continuing that conversation, which is why I have so much respect for the people and what they're doing here. Because something I realized in Boston, I mean, we would protest like 3 4 times a week, but we were never on the news. We never
Hmm.
got anything like changed or got anything done, because like it was just a peaceful protest and it was super easy for people to ignore. So Portland people are hard to ignore because they're making like quite a ruckus about it, which I love because I feel like
Hmm.
it's actually pushing the conversation forward. And for me specifically, I am the least confrontational person ever. So I like am not good at that, but I think it's important for me to show up and push myself, because just like not doing something because I'm not good at it is a huge privilege that I have because it won't change my life if I don't do it. But I think for me, something I do really thrive at is mutual aid, which is a great way to help the community. And I used to work in nonprofits before I became a wedding photographer. So that's something I have like experience in, something that continues the fight from an angle that I can really put a lot of energy and effort and expertise into that I think will help a lot. So that's more what I'm looking to do now that we're here. And I definitely like being in Oregon. I like being surrounded by people that are also still trying to push
Mhm.
forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great. Like, I'm glad that, you're in an environment where, like, like they're strongly, still like pushing towards that. I'm
Yeah,
not really, because I don't really see any news, like, now I don't watch the news a lot, but like I don't
yeah,
know what's going on in Portland right now, but I'm sure like they're more like involved and like, still pushing
yeah,
things out there.
definitely. There's still protests all the time in Portland and stuff like that. And there's still some in Boston and everything too. If like you're in a major city, I'm sure there's going to be some. It's just like finding the right people who are hosting them because they will be less talked about now that like they're not major on the news. But
Hmm.
yeah, just finding like the right group. Like in Boston, I was a part of the Freedom Fighters Coalition, which is a great group of people who do mutual aid and organize protests and stuff like that. And I help fundraise for them and also help like photograph for them and stuff like that. Like photographers have such a unique skill. Like you can photograph for like these opportunities. It would be so helpful. I think it's such a need for people because there's only
Yeah.
one way to keep showing what's going on, and that's through photographs.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you were able to use your brand, or having the
Yeah,
outlet to share what's going on, especially
definitely.
you're the wedding photographer, you're using your skill to able to raise the voices, what's going on right now. But I'm glad that
Yeah,
it it all worked out where you're in a place where you're comfortable, and also like like I
totally.
guess you're starting over again, so I'm really excited for that. So, I do have a question. Like, how are you like how are you doing with like this year? Like, what are you looking forward for this year? Since everything, there's so many things going on, but like I'd like to hear like your goals, or like what's going on.
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like I have like really shifted a lot, and I think this whole past year has opened my eyes a lot to like what I want, what I don't want, and stuff like that. So I truly have no idea what I'm doing right now, but I think that this year I really want to start working with brands more. One, because that's more secure in the pandemic, and like
Mhm,
losing like virtually all my business last year because of the pandemic really made me realize how like insecure the industry can be, and it was
mhm,
like a very scary time, obviously. And I have rent to pay and I have dogs to feed. So I need to make sure that I am still making an income. So I think I'm going to work in brands. I also love hiking. So I think it should be easy to work with outdoor brands. And I'm excited to do that. And then my weddings, I'm just excited to get to know people out here, which sounds kind of weird, but I really do like all the couples I meet. And I always try to force them to be my friends. So hopefully I'll meet new people.
I
Plus, like,
did. And no, go
no,
ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I
I was
did
going
see
to
that they you started out you're working with other brand, like a hiking app or something like that.
oh, yeah.
Is that something you're transitioning to, like working with brands like
I don't know, but I think so.
that?
I
No,
hope
that's what
so. Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
that's great
we'll
that
see.
you're trying to look for other alternatives, with like COVID going on, like like
Yeah,
I feel like the wedding industry is not as secure as it is compared to healthcare. Like I'm going to healthcare, going to get my nursing degree.
totally.
I feel like that'd be the
Yeah,
more important. Like I mean, more secured, but like I feel for wedding photography, I feel like we never
totally.
knew this was gonna happen. But like I'm glad that you're like trying to branch out to like doing like brand, working with brands, to have that
Exactly.
security.
Like, yeah, in the off chance it's another bad year, I just don't wanna be in the same place that I was last year
Hmm.
because I could have I, like, took the hit fine last year, but I don't think I could take it 2 years in a row.
Hmm.
It's people always said, like, weddings are always gonna happen, people are always gonna get married, wedding photography is so secure, but then people couldn't get married anymore, and it was kind of a mess. So, hopefully this will just provide, like, a little bit of a cushion if necessary. And I just like expanding my skills, like, when I photograph for brands, that translate into specific moments on the wedding day, which I like, and I like always getting better and trying to push myself as much as possible and see things in a new way. So I think that'll be fun, like a fun new challenge.
That's good. And also, one more thing about the I know you created a YouTube page last year. I feel like it was since yesterday. But anyways, the YouTube, are you still planning on doing that? YouTube, teaching other photographers in the future? Maybe like you'll go back and pick up at it. Are you? Is that still like something in your head?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot because I started the YouTube and then I stopped it when the pandemic and everything was happening because it just seemed like very tone deaf to be like posting about random stuff when all this other stuff was happening. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this to the side. It is something I would definitely like to start picking up again. So it's on the to-do list.
To do yeah, it
Very
was
important.
very it's it's so helpful, I feel like that I really appreciate you doing that because like there's like information that like that's free, and I feel like there are like workshops out there, but like you have to pay for it, but
So
like for someone
expensive.
that's
Yeah.
looking to get the information for free, I feel like that's so helpful, and I'm glad that
No.
you were doing that.
Yeah, I think it's so important to build like a community of people that actually like you actually want to help without in exchange of money. Not like people can't make money for things, and that's awesome that they do. I just like helping people start for free.
That's
It's,
good.
I
No, that's
mean, did
good.
you go to any workshops or anything?
Say that
Did you ever
again.
need to? Did you ever go to any workshops or anything, or did you just start? Because you're freaking successful as heck now.
The last time I talked with you guys, that was a year ago, and like I had like zero, like three bookings. I the only
Yeah.
workshop I've been to was what Jess had
Oh
created
yeah.
with you guys, and that was my first workshop. It was so much fun, and like just the Instagram, and like I'm glad that it's booking well for me. You know.
Yeah. You're like have a million days booked. Like you're gonna
Well,
be
the well,
exhausted.
Becca, the reason I feel like videography is such a different thing where like for us, it's there's not a lot of competition for compared to photography. I feel like I mean, there's a lot of couples out there looking for
Yeah,
photography,
you're
but like
still in. I think you're amazing and talented, and people see it, and you're getting booked. And there's nothing about competition. You're just good. That's my 2 cents on that.
yeah,
You're
but
just
like
nice to do that.
thank you. Yeah, so last time I talked with you guys, it was kind of like, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen, but like
Yeah.
watching your videos, was really helpful about like, like I think one of the videos that you created was like what to expect, like what are you gonna feel when you're a wedding photographer? Or, you kind
Yeah.
of get touch on that. So I really appreciated that because I listened to that. I was like, oh my God, like this is so I could visualize this, it's finally
Oh,
happening now. It's finally happening. So the YouTube videos was really helpful. So
I'm so
in the
glad.
future,
Okay, if they're actually helpful, I'll keep doing them because I was like, I don't actually know if anybody watches these or if they're actually going to help anyone. But if you see that they're helpful and they helped you, then I'm all for it.
so in the future, if you do want to go by, I really, encourage you to do that again. But anyways,
Yeah.
I didn't want to take more time away from you, but like,
Yeah.
I think the question, yeah, I feel like we just go with the flow, and I felt like, you know, I don't know if I touched on the topics I wanted to talk, but
No, it's all
yeah,
I this was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
yeah.
I never thought I would ever be interviewed on a podcast because I was like, who would want that? But
I mean, I feel like the podcast, it kind of, we're recording ourselves, but like, it's great to have that on YouTube, and then, looking back at it like a few years, and who knows, a couple or maybe like a vendor or like a creative is starting out can see this, and
totally. No,
can
I
see
love
this,
that.
and
Yeah,
like I
because
know, like, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Sorry, I
I
was gonna say
I
uh, if you were helped by like these videos and stuff like that, and now I love that you're giving it back and you're like, I'm gonna help the next person who's trying to learn and has no idea what to do and doesn't have like the money to go to a workshop or isn't ready to make that step yet. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I know. And it's just kind of like, like I feel like just, where the conversation goes through. Like, I feel like, like we get to hear the creative story. Like when I just started out, I wanted to hear like like how, it felt like to be like, start like kind of have that connection,
Totally.
like I feel like it would be great
Yeah.
to listen to podcasts, something like this. But I know Clubhouse is becoming a big thing. I know Jess is killing it
Yeah.
with the
This is so
Clubhouse.
good. I have like 12 followers and I never know what to do and I'm always like not on mute and you can hear like my dogs barking and stuff and I'm like, oh god.
Wait, so are you gonna be in I know Clubhouse, that's a new thing. Like, are you gonna be in the Clubhouse? I know you posted there. You're gonna be on it tomorrow, or is
Yeah,
that?
I'm gonna do it with Jess because she's gonna hold my hand and bring me through it. Because I'm really like helping like educate people. Obviously, I love talking about it, but I'm just not that hip. So I'm like, I don't know that much about it, but I'm all for it if it like actually brings good conversations and helps people out, which the ones I've been a part of that Jess has done have been so good and helpful. She literally almost had me cry on one. They were doing like a motherhood and entrepreneurship one. I was like, I'm not even a mom. This is amazing. So good.
That's so funny. No, Jess is really good. Like how he like talks and like pulls you in through the story. It's like, oh my god, I'm just listening. I'm probably like fangirling, but like I was just in a group under and like listening to Jess talk. Like she
Yeah,
really knows like her experience. I really enjoyed hearing her
yeah.
story and also like just talking with other creatives. But well,
Great.
anyways, I will see. I guess I will, if I have the time, I will definitely be in the room just listening to you guys in
Yeah,
the background.
please do. We gotta join in.
But it was really it was a pleasure. I'm honored to have to
Yeah,
talk to you now, and
we're
I'm
so
glad that you're doing
lucky.
well.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to talk to you and catch up.
I know. It's been like, I feel like it's just on Instagram, but I felt like, being able to talk in person, I felt like, it's great to have that.
Yeah,
So
I love that. So it's so
thank you
nice.
again, Becca, and I wish you the best, and I hope, you get to go back with your brother soon. So,
Thank you. Aw.
all right, have a good one. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.